Everyone knows Yuji Itadori, the main protagonist of Jujutsu Kaisen and the man who inhales Sukuna's fingers like they were hot dogs. But did you know that Yuji is actually a human experiment with a secret power? That his mother was a villain, and that you already know his mother even if you don't realize it yet. By the end of this video, you will know everything there is to know about Yuji's extremely dark family history and how his entire life is all a part of a 1,000-year-old villain's master plan. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy our Jujutsu Kaisen content and you want to see more in the future, leave a quick like and comment right now for that YouTube algorithm. And if you are one of the over 50% of people who watch my videos but haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a big favor and subscribe right now. We are trying to hit 2 million subscribers, so every subscription counts. Now, Jujutsu Kaisen has an incredible diverse cast of magical characters with extremely cool powers. And Yuji's mom is one of the most mysterious ones. Honestly, out of all the epic sorcerer characters, it's actually hard to choose the coolest and most mysterious one. And speaking of choosing between a diversified group of magical characters, huge thanks to Dislight for sponsoring this video. Dislight is a turn-based mobile role-playing game that allows you to collect awesome and diverse characters with divine powers. But Dislight is also an ongoing series of urban myth comics, which is super cool. I love anime waifus and mythology, and Dislight lets me have both with their unique pop fantasy style that turns gods and goddesses from Greek, Norse, Chinese, Egyptian, and Japanese mythology into powerful espers. Build your own 5 esper squad and make full use of the different roles of the esper heroes and the relationship between their 4 main attributes to optimize your team. And here's the best part, in Dislight you can turn on auto battle to get resources, so you can enjoy a relaxing, stress-free experience. Guess what? Dislight is launching a new limited time event which immerses you in the captivating story of Xiao Tu, a classic Chinese god. As a girl who acquired divine powers, Xiao Tu's fate takes an unexpected turn when she is caught in an eternal cycle on a radiant summer day. This epic new summer update lets you participate in summer-themed events and earn massive awards. If you're a fan of myths and waifus, you have to check it out for yourself. Download Dislight by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen. If you join Dislight today, you will be directly supporting this channel, and if you use my code FIGHTWITHGODS, you will get 5 free draws and huge in-game rewards. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code right now. Finally, this video will contain Jujutsu Kaisen manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. When we first meet Yuji Itadori at the beginning of the series, we learn that his parents are apparently dead, and because of this, he was mostly raised by his paternal grandfather, Wasuke Itadori. Unfortunately, at the start of the story, Yuji's grandpa is already very ill and bedridden, and we see Yuji visiting him in the hospital and bringing him flowers. Yuji's grandpa dies in the very first chapter of the manga, but not before imparting some important lessons on Yuji. Wasuke tells Yuji that he's a strong kid, so he should be using his strength to help other people. It doesn't have to be all the time, but just whenever he can. He shouldn't expect gratitude from others, he should just help them. Yuji's grandpa also tells Yuji to make sure that when it's his time to go, he will be surrounded by other people who care about him. He advises his grandson not to end up like him, and then he passes away. Even though Yuji's grandpa Wasuke only appears briefly in the first chapter of the story and then dies, Yuji does take his advice to heart, and his grandpa's words have a significant impact on his future decisions. However, there is one part of the conversation between Yuji and his grandpa in the very first chapter that is often overlooked because of how quickly it goes by. At the very beginning of their conversation inside of Wasuke's hospital room, Yuji's grandpa tells Yuji that he has some final words for him and that these words are about Yuji's parents. But Yuji cuts his grandpa off. He says, "Stop, I don't care." Wasuke tries to talk about Yuji's parents again, but Yuji interrupts him again, telling him to stop trying to act cool before he dies and to just be his usual self. As it turns out, the truth about Yuji's parents is far darker and far more messed up than any of us could have imagined in that early part of the story. And I really wish that Yuji let his grandpa speak about that specific topic. To be fair though, the fact that the topic of Yuji's parents was brought up but then wasn't elaborated on made the subject even more intriguing, and it foreshadowed the craziness that was about to follow. Now, at the beginning of the story, we learn right away that Yuji is unusually strong, fast, and athletic, so much so that he absolutely smokes his athletics club supervisor, Mr. Takagi, in a shot put competition. He also demonstrates strength and speed that are far above what a normal human should be able to do when he helps Megumi fight the curses inside his school. And also when he actually eats one of Sukuna's fingers, and instead of dying, he is able to become a vessel for Sukuna. Not only that, but Yuji is able to actually suppress Sukuna inside of him, thereby preventing the King of Curses from just taking over his body at will. In fact, even after consuming multiple fingers that belong to Sukuna, Yuji is still able to mostly control the monster inside of him. Gojo notes that a person with such a phenomenal ability appears only once in every 1,000 years. But why is Yuji so special? Why is he so unusually strong, fast, and athletic? And why is he able to handle becoming a vessel for Sukuna while successfully suppressing and controlling the most powerful cursed spirit of all time? It's not just some cosmic coincidence. It all goes back to the dark truth about Yuji's parents. And this is exactly what Yuji's grandpa wanted to talk to him about before Yuji interrupted him. To be clear, the full story behind Yuji's family history is still shrouded in mystery, but the few reveals that we do have are absolutely shocking. In chapter 143, we got a flashback that actually showed Yuji's mom and dad for the first time. And this quick 2-page story was so crazy that I had to immediately do a double take when I first read it. I could not believe what I just saw, and I had to read it again. In the flashback, we see Yuji's dad, Jin Itadori, holding a baby Yuji in his arms and talking to Yuji's grandpa, Wasuke. Wasuke is trying to talk to his son about that woman, but Yuji's dad says that if the conversation is about her, he's just gonna leave. Wasuke says to his son, Jin, you can live your life however you like, but give up on that woman, you'll die. Jin replies by saying, don't talk about such things in front of Yuji. They say babies remember more than we think. A clearly agitated Wasuke persists. He says, I know you wanted a child and that didn't happen with Kaori, but her death was... And then he is interrupted by a woman who simply says, father-in-law, what are you talking about? This woman is presumably Yuji's mother because she calls Yuji's grandpa father-in-law. And here's the crazy part. This woman has a clearly visible scar on her forehead. The same type of scar that Geto has after he dies, and his body is essentially hijacked by the ancient evil sorcerer Kenjaku. And that is it. That is all we get in the flashback. It's very brief, but there is a lot that we can extrapolate from this quick conversation. Wasuke had said that Jin always wanted to have a child with a woman named Kaori, but it didn't happen because she died. We didn't get the details of her death because Wasuke was cut off, but that was the implication. At some point, Kaori died before having children, and yet here she was now interrupting the conversation by referring to Wasuke as her father-in-law. And she has that scar. Unless we're being deliberately misled by the author, to me, this can only mean one thing. Yuji's father, Jin, was in love with a woman named Kaori, and he wanted to have a family with her. Unfortunately, at some point she died. Jin simply couldn't give up on Kaori and his dream of being with her and having a family with her, so he seems to have accepted some sort of deal with the devil, or rather a deal with Kenjaku. Kenjaku was able to bring Kaori Itadori back to life by possessing her body, and by doing this, Jin and Kaori were able to produce a child, Yuji. But while this child might biologically belong to Jin and Kaori, Kaori is clearly not herself anymore. She was replaced by Kenjaku. Now it's possible that Jin didn't realize what was really happening. Maybe Kenjaku claimed that he could save Kaori, but he didn't reveal how exactly he would do it. So maybe Jin thinks that the real Kaori is still in there, and he doesn't realize that her body is being possessed by Kenjaku. But from the way that Yuji's grandpa was talking, it seems that he knew that something was deeply wrong here. Wasuke knew that Kaori died, and he knew that if Jin continued to associate with whatever Kaori has become, he would also die. It's still not clear what Jin's true motivations and intentions were here. Was he just a desperate man in denial who was pretending that his wife was back even though it was actually Kenjaku? Or did he know exactly what was going on, but he chose to live with it because he wanted to have a child with Kaori and he was willing to do anything for the illusion of having her back? Fun fact, but even though we never saw Yuji's mom using Jujutsu sorcery, we do have a good idea what her cursed technique was. In chapter 208, Kenjaku reveals that Kaori possessed a technique called anti-gravity system. And even after Kenjaku left Kaori's body, he retained the ability to use her technique. This technique allows the user to negate gravity. And the curse technique reversal of this power allows the user to amplify the gravitational pull around them. But what was Kenjaku's motivation in all of this? Why would this 1,000-year-old sorcerer, whose grandiose goal is to usher in a new golden age of Jujutsu sorcery by using cursed energy to force humanity to evolve, go through all the trouble of becoming Yuji's mom? Apparently, Jin and Kaori did not have children before she died, so presumably Kenjaku had to get pregnant while in Kaori's body, be pregnant for 9 months, and then literally give birth to Yuji. Like, that is a pretty big commitment, so what possessed Kenjaku to do this? The answer to this question is extremely dark, and it leads us to the disturbing revelation that Yuji is one of Kenjaku's human experiments. The fact that Yuji has superhuman strength, speed, and athleticism, the fact that he was able to consume Sukuna's fingers and suppress Sukuna inside of him, and the fact that he was able to improve his Jujutsu sorcery so quickly, this was not some cosmic coincidence. This was all a part of Kenjaku's master plan. So who is Kenjaku? And what has he or she been up to for the past 1,000 years? Kenjaku is currently possessing Geto's body, so I will refer to him as he, but we don't actually know what Kenjaku's original gender was. Kenjaku's past dates back 1,000 years, all the way back to the golden age of Jujutsu sorcery, the Heian period of Japanese history. This makes Kenjaku a contemporary of Ryomen Sukuna and many other overpowered sorcerers and curse users. Kenjaku has managed to stay alive for this long due to his incredibly rare and incredibly creepy innate technique. This technique enables Kenjaku to essentially possess the body of another person, including the body of a dead person, by somehow transplanting his own brain into the head of his host. The telltale sign of Kenjaku's presence within a body is the long scar that runs horizontally around the person's forehead. The same scar that we saw on the body of Suguru Geto and Kaori Itadori, as well as the bodies of other people that Kenjaku possessed throughout history, including of course the infamous Noritoshi Kamo. When Kenjaku enters someone's body, he is able to access their cursed energy as well as their innate cursed techniques. He even retains the host's memories, allowing him to seamlessly usurp the host's entire life. In fact, Kenjaku is able to mimic his host's presence so well that even Gojo's 6 eyes can't detect him as an imposter. As I said, upon possessing a body, Kenjaku retains the host's body's unique cursed energy, so it's hard to track him. If that wasn't enough, Kenjaku has access to not only his current host's body's innate technique, but he is even able to use the cursed techniques of the people he had possessed in the past, such as Kaori. Needless to say, this is an extremely overpowered ability, although there does appear to be some limit to how many techniques and how much information in general his brain can retain without overloading. And if everything you heard so far isn't creepy enough, Kenjaku has the ability to literally take off the upper part of his host's body's head in order to reveal his real brain. Believe it or not, his real brain, the one he transplants into the host bodies, actually has teeth and it looks like it is smiling. Ugh. In order to decipher the dark intentions that drove Kenjaku to literally become Yuji's mother, we have to go back some 150 years to the Meiji period and Kenjaku's actions while he was possessing the body of Noritoshi Kamo, the man whom sorcerers of the modern era referred to as the evilest Jujutsu sorcerer in history. Noritoshi was a member of the prominent Kamo family, and he had been in charge of a temple. Inside the temple, he conducted terrifying experiments with human and cursed spirit hybrids. Noritoshi came across a woman who was able to give birth to human/cursed spirit hybrids, and he imprisoned her and conducted many experiments on her. These experiments led to the creation of the cursed womb death paintings, 9 special grade cursed objects that were created by mixing the blood of both a human and a cursed spirit. These cursed objects have 3 parents in total: the woman who gave birth to them, the cursed spirit who fathered them, and Noritoshi Kamo aka Kenjaku, who mixed his own blood into the cursed wombs, imbuing all of them with the inherited technique of the Kamo family, blood manipulation. These objects were eventually found by Jujutsu sorcerers, and they were kept securely inside Jujutsu High for many decades. But during the Goodwill event villain invasion, Mahito was able to steal all of them and deliver them to Kenjaku. Soon after that, 3 of the 9 cursed wombs were incarnated into flesh and blood vessels, including Eso, Kechizu, and Choso. You will be familiar with these guys from the final few episodes of Season 1 of the Jujutsu Kaisen anime. But do you want to know the craziest part? Although Eso and Kechizu are killed quickly after being introduced, Choso survives and he ends up being a pretty important character in the later arcs of the story. What's more, he eventually allies himself with Yuji and the sorcerers against Kenjaku and the villains. Not only that, but he comes to view Yuji Itadori as one of his brothers. Why? Because they share a common parent, Kenjaku. Kenjaku helped to create the 9 cursed wombs while he was possessing the body of Noritoshi Kamo. And he also birthed Yuji Itadori when he was possessing the body of his mother, Kaori. We know that Kenjaku created the 9 cursed wombs as part of a ghoulish human experiment designed to create human and cursed spirit hybrids. So why did he become Kaori Itadori and go through all the trouble of giving birth to Yuji? My guess is that his reason for creating Yuji was very similar to his reason for creating the cursed wombs. Yuji is a human experiment, a creature created for the specific purpose of furthering Kenjaku's greatest ambition, the forced evolution of humanity through cursed energy. I believe that Yuji is just as much of a human experiment as Choso and the 9 cursed wombs. And I believe there is a dark power inside of him that we are not yet aware of, but that will be revealed as the story progresses and as we learn more information about Yuji's dark family history. It is likely that Yuji is also some sort of hybrid between a flesh and blood human and a cursed spirit. But since he was created over 100 years after the cursed wombs, it's likely that Kenjaku made improvements in his experimentation techniques during that time. And so Yuji is a more sophisticated model when compared to the 9 cursed wombs. Right now in the Jujutsu Kaisen story, Gojo has taken center stage and Yuji is kind of chilling on the sidelines. And as of the making of this video, this is actually the case in both the Jujutsu Kaisen anime and manga. But there is a reason why our story started with Yuji Itadori. There is a reason why the mystery of his parents has been teased since the very first chapter. And you better believe that there is more to Yuji than meets the eye. When the full story of his father and mother is revealed, the dark truth is going to shock everyone. What do you guys think? Is Yuji a human experiment and some sort of sophisticated human and cursed spirit hybrid? If I were to guess, I would say that Kenjaku manipulated Yuji's father Jin into creating Yuji, although Jin may not have been even aware of Kenjaku's true intentions. Perhaps Kenjaku used Jin's immense grief over the loss of his wife to somehow incarnate a curse inside of baby Yuji. Something slightly reminiscent of the Yuta and Rika situation, but also different. What will be the final truth about Yuji's mother and father? What will Yuji's ultimate power be? Definitely share your feedback down in the comments. I really want to hear all your best theories on the secret origins of Yuji Itadori. If you're looking for an epic Jujutsu Kaisen video to watch next, check out my video on Gojo and why he has the power to destroy all of humanity. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like to let me know. And if you're one of the over 50% of people who watch my videos but haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, help me reach that incredible 2 million by subscribing right now. Thanks again to Dislight for sponsoring this video. Check them out right now. Link in the description.